All right, you should be able to hear me now.
Yes, yeah, we can hear.
Connect through my headphones.
Okay. Hi there. So we just have a few minutes. Class starts at 2, but I am recording this one so that I can share it with students that aren't able to make it today. So
good.
I'm going to give them extra credit to watch.
Oh, nice. That's always good.
We'll get them all to watch it.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And how's your semester been?
What?
How's your semester been?
It's okay. A little bit crazy dealing with everything, but it's okay.
Sure.
I was going to say, Kristen, I don't know if I have to do anything like once you try to share your screen. I don't know if I have to like click something to authorize it or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like you have to if you just make me a co-host, I should be able to share it.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I just changed the host to you.
There we go. That should work.
Okay.
And then we'll do this.
All right, so just a couple more minutes and then we'll get going. Hi there. Okay, guys, we have a special guest presentation today. Some of you have already met Kristen from Becker before, but she's on here and she's going to give us a presentation about accounting careers and then also about the CPA exam and then about different resources and information that Becker has available. So I am recording this. What I told students in my last class is if you are, and you guys know your grades better than I do. I don't have everybody's grades memorized, but if you are in need of extra credit points, if you want to write a 1-paragraph reflection on what Kristen's going to teach us today, we'll get some extra credit points for that. And then for people that aren't here, like I said, I'm recording it so anybody can watch it again if we want to. And then because I had to plug up my personal computer to the projector, for some reason this cord is funky and it keeps going out. So what I would recommend if you would like is to scan this code and then it'll put it on your phone. So you'd be looking at it right on your phone, because literally every 2 or 3 minutes it's flashing on the screen. So if you would like to pull it up on your phone, you just need to scan that QR code. And I'm just making sure here, Kristen, that I am recording. I am recording. So the floor is yours whenever you are ready.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. So as mentioned, my name is Kristen Kukru. I'm a senior account manager with Becker CPA Review. So I'm out of St. Louis, and I cover about half of Missouri and half of Illinois and talking to students like yourself about the CPA exam. And so what I'm really going to be covering today are a couple things. I'm going to share with you kind of the pathway to becoming a CPA. So what are the steps that you need to take? And I'll also share with you a little bit more about the CPA exam in regards to how it's structured and things like that. I'll also start off by sharing with you some of the opportunities and careers that you can focus on in the accounting realm, so you really have a better grasp on what you can actually do with that CPA. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any as I'm going through the information, but we'll go ahead and get started. So as mentioned, you can scan that code. There's also, and it looks like it might be a little bit delayed as far as it moving forward in the presentation, but there'll be some questions that'll pop up on your phone. You can also go to the link that's on there too, that glisser.live as well. So that's something else that you can do. All right. So when it comes to the accounting field, a lot of times when talking to students, I hear a lot of them say, well, I'm really looking to, I guess my choices are, tax or audit. I'll probably go work for a public accounting firm. And that's great. There's a lot of opportunity there as well. But there is so much more than what people really think about when it comes to accounting. So I've highlighted a couple different areas that you can go into here. So corporate accounting is another way you can go. So if you don't want to go into the public accounting and want to work for a specific corporation, maybe a corporation that you have a passion for as far as what they offer, and it's a good environment, that could be something you could go into as well. Forensic accounting, that is a very desirable area to go. The FBI is actually, the accounting program is actually the second largest program that the FBI recruits from. So something else that you could pursue if you liked more of that investigating route. It's not necessarily even just with the FBI. There's also some opportunities with public accounting firms that have some opportunity, forensic department essentially, even in private industry as well. So if that's an area you're interested in, that's a really great way to go too. Environmental accounting. So if you have a passion for helping organizations become more sustainable or more green, then that could be something that you could follow as well. There's a lot of organizations that need accountants to help them in still maintaining profitability while trying to focus on sustainability. Global accounting, if you want to travel, is another great route to go. Make your professors proud and go into academia, so teaching other students. And then there's government and not-for-profit. So that's particularly something that you might focus on, considering where you're located at, being so close to the state capitol. And then there's public accounting, of course, too. So working for a public accounting firm. So as far as when it comes to where you can go with accounting, here's the exciting thing. You truly can find your passion in what you want to go into and pair that up nicely with accounting or with a CPA. So really, any organization has an accounting department, essentially. They hire CPAs. So if you want to go and work for a company like Nike or Facebook or Nordstrom, Apple, there's a number of companies that you could go and work for and still focus on the accounting part of that. So when it comes to public accounting, this list here shows that many of the top CPA firms, so some of these are the big four, some of them are the global 7, some of them are more of the regional firms. So many of them end up landing every year on the top 100 places to work. So that just really goes to show that it's a great profession to go into. There's a lot of camaraderie in those departments, and so you really it makes for a much more enjoyable experience. And so you can see several firms have landed on this list, anywhere from the big four, like I said, EY, KPMG, to some of your regional firms like BKD or even Clifton Larson Allen. So how do you get there? So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what are the steps that you need in order to become a CPA. Before I do that, I'd like to just go through a few quick facts about the CPA exam. So what are some of the components to that? So the CPA exam is comprised of 4 sections. So you have financial, audit, regulation, and business. So these are all 4-hour exams. So when you go to the exam, you have 4 hours to complete the entire exam. Now the exam is broken up into 2 parts. Okay, so you will have 50% of your score will be made up of multiple choice questions. You guys are used to those. I've been doing those for a long time. And then the other 50% will be made up of what are called task-based simulations. Now your task-based simulations are going to be bigger problems. So they're going to focus more on your critical thinking and evaluation skills. And so those take more time. So you only have about 7 to 8 usually in an exam, while you might have anywhere from 60 to 70 multiple choice questions in an exam. Now, as far as in order to pass, you need to have a score of 75, and that's on a scale of 0 to 99. So you need to have a 75 on each section in order to pass the full CPA exam. As far as the taking the exam, you can take it in any state or jurisdiction. So what that means is, let's say you are planning to take the exam through, let's say you're planning to take the exam through California, but you're here in Missouri. So you can actually apply for the exam, take the exam here at a Prometrics Center in Missouri, under the California restrictions. And same goes vice versa. So if you're maybe home is in a different state and you're there for spring break, you could even take some of your exams in that other state, even if you are taking the exam through Missouri. So a couple things to note there. As far as passing the exam, you have 18 months from the first section you pass. So once you've passed that first section, not the first section you've taken, but from the first section you've passed, you then have 18 months to pass the remaining 3 sections. All right, so let's take a look at the steps. So I have all 5 steps here listed for you. And I realize that my slides are moving a little slow here. So the next steps, or the steps to becoming a CPA, you see there's 5 steps here. So that first step is meeting the educational requirements. So that's the point that you guys are at now. So focusing on reaching those educational requirements for the state you plan on sitting through. So keep in mind, every state is different. So you do want to make sure that you do your research and find out what that state specifically is requiring, okay? You can do that in a number of ways. The Becker website does post all of the requirements for each state on their website, as well as the links to how to apply. There's also NASBA, which is the National Association of State Board of Accountancies. They will also provide you the information for each state's requirements as well. So a number of ways you can get that information. Once you've met those educational requirements, that next step is applying to take the CPA exam. That also does vary state by state. So let's say you are applying through Missouri. Missouri goes through NASBA, which I just referenced here just a second ago. So you will apply through NASBA. Some states require you to apply through the state board directly, okay? So again, something you'll want to make sure that you know before you start that application process. Now, when you're submitting your application, you are submitting all of your official transcripts. And so when I say all of your official transcripts, that does include any courses that you took prior to William Woods. So if you took courses in high school for college credit, or if you took courses at a community college before transferring to William Woods, you'll need to have each of those originals sent. That's very important as well. Now, when you're applying for the exam, you're also going to pay for the exam as well. So you will pay an application fee as well as a fee for each section of the exam. Now, once your application is processing, that time you want to be studying for the exam. The application processing time can take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. So you want to make sure that you are studying that entire time it's processing. And once it is processed, you'll move on to step 4, and you'll see that you will receive what's called a notice to schedule. So your notice to schedule is going to basically be your golden ticket into the exam. So that's going to be what you're going to use in order to schedule your exam at the Prometric Testing Center as well. So you will use a code that's put on your notice to schedule each exam individually. Okay, all scheduling is done through the Prometric Testing Center. So that's where you'll actually go and physically sit for the exam. Now, where those are, there's one in Jefferson City. There's also one in St. Louis. There's 2 in Kansas City and 1 in Springfield. If you're going to another state, there's a number of Prometric testing centers in every state. So you'll just want to see where the closest location is to you. So again, you can test at any Prometric testing center. It doesn't matter where you go and take the exam. Once you've taken the exam and passed all 4 parts, you'll need to also complete an ethics exam. You'll have to complete that within 2 years of completing your CPA exam. Now, the ethics exam is something you can also do prior to passing the CPA exam, and it's an open note, open book test that you take from home. So not anywhere near the magnitude of the CPA exam. You're also able to obtain, you'll also need to obtain work experience. And you'll need 1 year work experience in the state of Missouri. That also does vary state by state, so you want to make sure that you view those guidelines as well. So once you've met all of that, you're then able to apply for licensure. So let's take a look, kind of take a step back and look at the state requirements specifically. So I have Missouri, Illinois, and New York listed here, okay? Reason being is I cover Missouri and Illinois, but I do have actually several students that sit through the state of New York as well. As you can see, most states require 150 credit hours in order to license. However, several states allow you to test a little early. So in the state of Missouri, you can actually sit 60 days prior to graduating with your 150 credits. Now, this is going to be changing starting July 1. July 1, they will actually be moving to similar to what New York is. They will allow you to start sitting at 120 hours. So that's essentially after a bachelor's degree, okay? So you'd be able to sit after you've completed 120 hours. Now, out of those hours, you do need to have a certain number of requirements. These are also expected to change, and we should have some information out to you probably within the next couple of weeks. At this point, you do need to have 33 credit hours in accounting. They're looking to drop that down to anywhere from 24 to 27. So again, similar to what New York is requiring. You'll need to have an audit class that will need to be included in that. And then 27 of those credit hours will also be business. So your general business courses will be included in those credit hours. Now that's all to sit. Now, in order to license, again, you need that ethics exam. So Missouri requires that, so does Illinois. And then you'll need to have 1 year work experience. So a question that was asked earlier is, if I complete an internship or prior work experience, you know, that's either tax, audit, managerial, accounting, can I count that towards my work experience requirement? Yes, you can in the state of Missouri. Some states require you accrue that experience later after you pass the CPA exam, but Missouri will allow you to count that towards your requirement. So what would happen is you'd get however many hours you did towards that internship, and then you'd combine that with whatever else in order to get that 1 year experience, and it needs to be 2,400 hours. So that's what that looks like. All right. So as far as the timeline of things, this is another common question I get from students is, how long do I have? When do I need to get this process started? So I mentioned when it comes to applying for the exam, it could take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. So a good practice is to get that application in about 2 months prior to when you plan to sit for your first section. So if you plan on, let's say you're graduating in May, and you want to take your first exam in March, you'll want to get that application in January to get that to be ready to sit for that March timeframe. So, and again, that's sending in all of those official transcripts and paying the fees. Now, the second arrow that you see here says NTS typically 6 months. What that means is when you receive your notice to schedule, and if you remember earlier, that's what you received saying your application is processed. When you receive that, that notice to schedule is only good for 6 months. So you are determining ahead of time how many sections you will be taking in a 6-month window. So if you look at your schedule and you're like, well, I know I can get 3 done, or maybe I can only get 2 done in that 6-month window, then you'll only apply and pay for those 2 exams. You'll be able to apply for a new notice to schedule the remaining sections, but you're only paying for those. So if you say, I know I can get 2 done, but I don't know about 3, just pay for 2. Be conservative with that. Reason being is, if you can't get to that 3rd one and things get busy for you, you won't be able to get that money back. You'll have to apply for a new notice to schedule and apply for it later. So don't let that happen. So again, that's where it takes a little, quite a bit of planning ahead of time.
Kristen,
Now,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to ask, do you know, is it still about 200 per section? I know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it ends up being, I think it's 246, I believe, per section.
Okay. I was just wondering how much that had went up, if that had changed at all. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yep, no problem. So, and then as far as how long you have to pass all 4 parts, you have 18 months from the first section you pass. So let's say you take your first part or your first section and you don't pass that section. You can go ahead and then you take the next section, you pass that one. That's when your time starts. So it starts from the first section you pass, and then you have 18 months from that time frame. Now that's really important, as that is something that you don't want to happen, is fall out of that 18-month window. Anything that falls out of that time frame you will lose and have to retake. So again, the CPA exam, one of probably the biggest tips I can give you is to really plan and stick to your plan. Our Becker course has a study planner embedded into it. And in that study planner, it will ask you how many hours a week you plan on studying. It'll ask you when you want to get started. And then from that information, it'll tell you what to do each week. So stick to that plan. Use that plan to figure out when to schedule your exams, how to stay on track. That will all be very, very, very helpful for you and very important in your chance of succeeding on the exam. So planning is very, very important. One thing that you can see at the top of the slide too is it says continuous testing started in July. So this last July, the AICPA has eliminated the blackout periods. So before, there used to be 4 blackout months per year that you couldn't take any exams during that time frame. So essentially it made it a bit of a logistical nightmare. So with that notice to schedule expiring within 6 months, 2 of those months were blacked out. So it didn't make it so easy to get all 4 sections done. So now continuous testing is now offered. And if you don't pass a section, as soon as you receive your scores, you can immediately take that again instead of having to wait until a new window, which you previously had to do. All right, so I shared a lot about the exam process. I wanted to also share with you some of the changes that are coming to the exam. So there's 2 rounds of changes. The first ones are happening this coming July. And how this evolved, this really was done through what was called a practice analysis. And it was done by the AICPA as well as NASBA. And they partnered up together to really talk with the employers and identify what the profession looks like, what's changing, what do new CPAs need to know in their profession. And based on that, they really noticed a huge impact of technology. So data analytics has really made its way into the profession quite a bit, as well as automation, even areas like blockchain technologies and things like that. So other areas that have changed, you can see here from the impact of technology, is understanding business processes from inception to completion, risk identification, and internal control mapping. Also, again, the data analytics and an increased need for reliance on SOC 1 reports. Now, these changes are really going to primarily affect the audit and BEC section, so business. And so those are going to be impacted the most, while the financial and regulation sections are really going to have more content deletions. The only changes that will be added or have actually already been added are the 2021 tax laws, as well as the CARES Act was added this last October. So those are some of the changes that have already been added. At this point in July, content will be removed from all 4 parts of the exam that are deemed as too broad, so no longer really relevant to the profession, while audit and business will have some additions to them to focus on those data analytics and risk assessment, as well as internal controls areas. So those are the changes. Now, the ones that are coming in 2024, those are, if you look up the CPA Evolution Project, you'll see what the exam is going to be evolving to is having you test for 3 sections that are going to cover accounting, audit, tax, and technology. I know that's 4 sections that I just mentioned, but they're going to break that into three sections. And then your 4th section will actually be your choice. So you will have the option to go more of a kind of business IT route, more of an audit route, and then more of a tax route. So you will actually select out of those 3 options what you will be taking for your 4th section on the CPA exam.
And
now, regardless of,
I'm sorry, and those changes are in 2024. Is that what you mentioned?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
2024. So depending on where everybody's at, it may not impact them. You know, I won't realize that's quite a ways away, but, you know, at least important to note. But with that, even if you choose a different track than your peer for that 4th section, you're still going to have the same CPA license. So you're not going to have a CPA license in audit or a CPA license in business IT. You will have the same CPA license as your peer, even if they chose a different section. But it gives you a little bit more of a focus on what you're wanting to do with your career. So there'll be some guidance from your employers, and so you know kind of what area you should be going into.
Thank you.
Yeah. Something else too, I did want to mention. I know I have my contact information up here on the screen, but I did want to mention too, if the CPA is not the route you want to go, we are now offering a CMA exam review as well. So if you're wanting to go more of the managerial route, or if you're wanting to have a dual credential, there's nothing wrong with having a CMA and CPA. It actually really helps you go even further in your career. I'd be happy to talk to you about that as well. It is really a growing credential, so something to keep in mind there too. With the CMA, you can actually take that at any point during your program. You don't have to have an accounting degree, and you only have to complete a bachelor's within 7 years of taking that exam. So just something to keep in mind there too. So any information you need on that, I'm happy to provide as well. Becker has a number of resources available to you. We are always doing different promotions to help with the affordability of the cost of Becker. However, a lot of firms and corporations pay for the Becker materials as well. And we do a national scholarship program every spring. We just wrapped up our last one. So, you know, feel free to contact me if you have any questions on any of that information. We're doing a number of webcasts that focus on important topics like the exam updates or the evolution of the CPA, data analytics. I think there's a data analytics one that's actually going to be happening in the spring, in April timeframe, I believe. So important information for you guys to know as you're getting somewhat closer to entering into the profession. So
nice. And Kristen, I would love to get the invite for that data analytics as well, so that students that weren't able to be here today or weren't able to take advantage of this extra credit opportunity and have some interest in it can take advantage of that one. So please definitely keep us posted on that one.
I will do that. And I think there's one for students coming up and there's one for faculty. So okay. Yep, I will make sure that you get information for both of those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any questions for Kristen? Doing okay? Yes, you do have to pay for it again. Yes, you do. Yeah. Cody just asked that if you didn't pass a section, would you have to pay for it again to retake it? And I said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. Okay. The only other thing, Kristen, I know you and I had talked about before, that Becker just came out with their new materials, I guess in December, updated materials in December. And I would like to make changes to the curriculum based on those updates. So just whenever you have a chance, will you give me a copy of those new textbooks?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I'm trying to kind of set the curriculum up where they're really studying for the CPA through the whole process of their accounting courses. So that would
That's great.
help,
And
definitely.
use that accounting master tool too. That should be helpful as well. So
Yes, definitely, definitely. Okay, anything
yep.
else we can think of for Kristen, guys? No? All right, Kristen, well, thank you so much for doing this
Yes,
for
thank
us.
you.
And I recorded it, so I'm going to share it with other students, and I will give them your email and information as well. So if they have any questions, they can contact you directly.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. All right. Anything else we can think of, guys? Yeah. So she did send it to me, and for those of you that are interested in the CPA,